Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we want to continue to speak about this man by the name of Haman that we come across in the book of Esther. And we find that in our reading today that the end is not well for Haman. He ends up getting hung in the gallows that he prepared for Mordecai. And as we kind of trace back and look at really the root of the problem of what was wrong with Haman, through his wanting to destroy the Jewish nation, through him wanting to get Mordecai hung on the gallows, and then his own demise. You trace it back to the root. We find that really what underlies all of Haman's actions in the book of Esther is pride. Pride. Time and time again, it's pride. Him being puffed up, and then something bad happening to him as a result of that. He was exalted by King Ahasuerus, and was given a high position, and he became prideful. And that pride issued out in him being angry with the Jews because Mordecai wouldn't bow down to him. And that really played against his pride, really injured his ego, if you will. And then after he had that secret, got to be in with the banquet with the king and the queen, he became prideful. He tells his family about the fact that, oh yeah, I got to be in the banquet with the king and the queen. And he goes out and Mordecai doesn't bow down to him again. And that just makes him even more angry. And then it gets personal. And so he builds this gallows that he wants to hang Mordecai by. And then he has this interchange with King Ahasuerus, where King Ahasuerus had been reminded of the things that Mordecai had done for him, how Mordecai had basically saved his life, but nothing good had come out of it. Nothing, in other words, Mordecai hadn't been rewarded for what he did. And then, so King Ahasuerus asked him, he said, what should I do for someone that I want to honor? And he goes through this long list of things. Oh, you should put him on the royal steed, and you should put the king's robe on it, and have someone lead it around, saying this is what happens with the man that the king wants to honor. And then King Ahasuerus says, okay, do this for Mordecai. And so Haman has to go through this humiliating experience where he's walking Mordecai, the man that he just despised, through the city, honoring Mordecai, and he's just humiliated by it. And then when he goes back to another banquet with the king and the queen, he ends up being shown for who he is. And the queen says, hey, this is the man who's trying to destroy my people. And he's begging for his life, and King Ahasuerus has stepped out for a moment, but he comes back and he sees Haman, begging his life of the queen. And he says, now you want to take advantage of the queen? And then they immediately cover his head and they take him out and they hang him on the very gallows that he had built for Mordecai. And so time and time again, throughout the story, pride. Anything that happened good for Haman, it just puffed him up, which resulted in bad things happening in his life. And we've talked about pride quite a bit in our daily encounter. It comes up quite a bit in the scriptures. It's one of those sins that the Lord really hates. In the book of Proverbs, it's put at the top of the list of sins that the Lord just abhors. As a matter of fact, even in the New Testament, in James chapter 4, we're told that the Lord opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. He opposes the proud. He loves to exalt the humble, but those who are prideful, those who are puffed up, he is opposed to and he works against. And so here we have not just a commandment, don't be prideful. We actually see it in action. We see the ugliness of pride. We see pride being brought out in a man in a very ugly way. And we see the result of that pride in his life. And it ought to be a warning for us to not allow pride to fester and build up in our hearts. Pride is one of those sins that we perhaps don't think about much. We don't guard ourselves from as much, Typically, when we think of sin, we think of like covetousness, lust, greed, that type of thing, jealousy. But pride, we don't oftentimes think about a lot, especially when it's in us. We might see it in other people, but we don't notice it when it's in us. But it's that sneaky sin that can creep up in us, and before we know it, we become puffed up, and it can lead to very bad things in our lives. Worst of all, it's displeasing to the Lord. So if there's no other reason not to be prideful, that's the best reason right there not to be prideful. Is the Lord opposes the proud. He despises pride. And of course, we can understand that He is the God of glory. He is the ruler of the universe, the creator of the universe. And for man to be prideful before Him would be an insult and something that would be very much despised by Him. So as we do our reading today, let's think about it in terms of pride. And if there's any pride in our hearts, let's bring it before the Lord. Let's do some due diligence to try to drive that pride out from us. Pray to the Lord that He'll help us to not be prideful and to be able to put that aside so that we can humbly walk before Him. And if we walk humbly before Him, we know that He will extend to us His grace, His help, to help us to far exceed what we would have done in our pride. And He will help us further along. So with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. I hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.